everyone. This is Mary Ricketts with Turning Point Training and Development. And I'm so very, very excited to have one of my dear friends and one of my coaching clients. And she is my therapist whenever I have to call her, Stephanie Womack, who is a licensed professional counselor. You can hunt her down and search her out on the Psychology Today website. Just pull up her name, Stephanie Womack, and you will see all of her contact information there. Let me unpack what we're going to do today. If you're listening to this live, it is Sunday afternoon. It is 2:30 here in Kansas City. It is a bright and beautiful sunshiny day. And yes, that is a song. But one of the things I asked Stephanie about, we've talked about this and we've done some things like this before in the past, is we have all been hit with an enormous amount of stress. We have kind of been thrown into some things that we weren't really used to. And I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to really talk about how are we managing some of the stress that's going on in our lives right now, the impact of being quarantined, the impact of COVID-19 from a business perspective, from business, and I'm thinking of us that are business owners, leaders within the business, just dealing with work differently, and then dealing with family. And then there's one that I probably didn't put on there that I should have is um, we also forget about, our connections and our peers that are single, and all of a sudden you're locked in the house all by yourself. If you have a pet, you get to play with a pet, but I'm not sure how long that lasts. So I told Stefan, and I said, we've got to get on here and talk about some real things, the things that we don't usually talk about openly as much. And I've asked her to really kind of give us some insight and input. And Stephanie, I want to start with something we talked about a little bit earlier in really giving us a definition between stress and anxiety. And then I want to hit a little bit on, the business and work. And then I definitely want you to come and chime in with how in the heck do we handle all of this that's hit us at once? So kick us off and share us, what's that difference between stress and anxiety?
Okay, well, Mary, thank you for doing this today. So, in terms of stress, stress is a response to something that's difficult, that's alarming. Um, the biggest thing is this COVID-19 and shelter in. And there are physical, responses to stress that come about, headache, getting tense in the shoulders, in the back, in the jaw, your gut is one of those things that's affected by is a stress response. But when we talk about in terms of anxiety, which I would say is probably impacting a lot more people than probably than it has been, is that when you have anxiety, it tends to be excessive worry, and it's triggered by events that haven't happened in the future. So, as we were kind of talking, when you asked me that, I said, well, let me give you kind of an example of what anxiety is. It's going to be when you start to ruminate, and ruminate means you're constantly thinking about it. It's excessive. It,
Mm-hmm.
it impacts your thought process throughout the day. And when anxiety becomes an issue for you is when it makes your daily function difficult.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me throw another quick question in there. And no, you guys do not get to step into my private therapy sessions, but um, one of the things that I know a lot of us as business owners are dealing with, whether you have, a team of 200, a team of two, or you're the solopreneur, this has hit home for so many of us across different industries. I'm not sure how do we not move into a place of anxiety? And let me throw this out there, and I'm so appreciative and thankful for those that still have income coming in, had great savings accounts up there, or you have something else that you can pull on. But even when it comes to those who can and can't file for unemployment, that can be challenging. But if I'm the business owner, and we literally, not so much my company, but companies are literally making those decisions. Do we stay open? Do we come back after this? Can we survive past this? How do I handle that anxiety? Because you better believe it's keeping us up at night.
Yeah, definitely. With me being a business owner, yes, I do think about it.
Yes.
Because, for mental health therapists, we've had to move to telehealth. And you have some clients where that might not be the best, treatment for that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're having to work through, what platforms are we using, how are we going to make sure that we're giving the best care and concern for our clients. And it does, I do think about it. But with that is to put it in perspective.
Okay.
Is that okay, this is a situation. I am able to adapt. I've moved my clients to telehealth, and those seem to be going fine. If it gets to be where someone can't do that, then we make other precautions to do that. But is putting it in perspective is one thing is to breathe. You gotta breathe.
Right. We take that for granted.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, okay, let's put it in perspective. Whatever your business may be, or maybe you're working for a company that says, well, we've got to close down. So, what are some things that I can do to help alleviate that? It's like, okay, you mentioned savings account. What does my savings look like?
Mm-hmm.
There's the talk about the stimulus check, how does that impact people? But putting things in perspective, is like eventually this is going to come to an end. Whether it's the end of the
Right.
30 days or maybe it's another 30 days, which I hope that isn't the case. But it's going
Right.
to come to an end, and focus on the things. This is a perfect time that you're at home with your kids. I mean, that's another level of stress and
Yes,
anxiety.
we're going to
But
talk about that one too.
it's just put things in perspective is
Okay.
the first thing.
So one of the things that I've done with my clients, you and everyone just got this. I believe I sent it out yesterday. Was the weekly business success plan. And one of the notes that I put in that email was one of the best things that I can do as your coach is to help you keep your vision alive and to help you remember why you started your company, remember why you have taken on this leadership position, because when it hits you like a semi truck, it's amazing the pressure that you feel. It feels like that elephant kind of sitting on your chest. Now I'm going to flip that, because on the other side of that, I have seen phenomenal companies begin to partner and collaborate together in keeping their businesses not only just thriving, but keeping the employees working. And I'm going to throw there throw a couple of names out there, because it was a great post that was on LinkedIn that was talking about U.S. Engineering was listed. The other company in store. Oh, let me see if I can pull it up, because I want to make sure I get their name right, because I was just so very, very excited about what they did. And then Dimensional Innovations was listed as well. But the key was it's impacting everyone differently, and I get that. But I think that there's still opportunities for stress and anxiety to kick up. I've had some clients tell me, they're kind of shy to talk about what they're doing in their business, because one of their peers isn't doing well, or my neighbor had to shut their restaurant down. They're not sure if they're going to be able to open back up. So I think there's that other side too, Stephanie, that says, I still have a check coming in, but I don't know how to talk about things. I can't really say a whole lot because my neighbor isn't, or my neighbor got laid off, or the bus drivers on the Missouri side, they've got unemployment coming in, but maybe the ones on the Kansas side don't. So you also have that added pressure and kind of the tense moments. Um, let's talk a little bit about how you can even have those conversations. Can I still talk about what's going on in my business if the person I'm talking to, isn't sure their doors are going to stay open, or if they're still going to have a job?
I would say definitely yes. You don't want to tend to isolate yourself from those people. So it could be that maybe you can share some, some tips or some things that you're doing in your business with them. You know, maybe it helps them to come, be open a little bit earlier than maybe, what it was anticipated. But it's not good to not share things,
Hmm.
with your, talk about it. It could be a good time for them to think about, well, maybe, maybe might need to rethink my business plan or what it is that I want to do, and be able to share, share that and give them an opportunity to kind of share about, well, what's going on with me.
I like that. I like that. We need to make sure that we're not going to be isolated. And there's this new phrase that I keep hearing, and it doesn't matter if it was coming from ministry or other businesses. From a coaching standpoint, I like coaching virtually. I do. I have some clients that I have face to face, but the new norm is this really may push more and more to virtual coaching, just kind of like what you were saying, having virtual meetings with your clients. And then I have one of my other clients, Dr. Michael Fitch, that does telemed, as well as seeing those face-to-face clients. What do you say to that person that is maybe even struggling and making sure that they don't feel like they're failing? One of the things I love to talk about in coaching, and it's actually a John Maxwell book, is sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, not lose, we learn, in making sure, even from a business perspective, that you can take a step back and say, okay, what can I still do in my business that can keep things moving along, that I can keep my employees engaged, or that I can make sure that I don't fall too far in the hole, as well as looking at, is this a new door for opportunity for you? So even like with your telemed, it's like, where you're licensed in Kansas and Missouri. So you really can expand your territory. So, what? I don't have to just stay within this Kansas City metropolitan area. You can reach out to, Wichita, Parsons, Kansas, St. Louis, all across both states like never before. And people being, I think, a little bit more comfortable with that, versus I need to see my counselor, I need to see my therapist face to face and be able to touch you, versus I can still see you because we can do Zoom. We can do a live video. I can still see you, you can still see me, and we can still feel very, very well connected. So, shifting a little bit just from that business perspective and business conversation, I've been teaching a workshop online talking about, how do you become part of this virtual team? This is so new for everyone, the telework, telecommute, working from home. Talk to me a little bit about some stress tips of feeling isolated. I'm used to hanging out with everybody at the water cooler in the break room, going out to lunch, and now I am locked up in the house, maybe with or without kids. but let's just say we don't have kids in the house. How do you what tips can you give that person this so that they don't feel isolated?
Well, the one thing is that if you have Zoom, that's a good way of connecting with individuals. I saw a post on Facebook where they use Zoom to connect with relatives across the country. And you just have that time to bond. You're seeing each other, and maybe you haven't seen those family members for a really long time. So that's one way of doing that. Of course, you got your FaceTime, you have your, Messenger. You can do video chat through Messenger. You have those
Hmm.
platforms where you can connect with people.
So, Stephanie, do you think it's important? And I know what I coach on, but from a therapist perspective, how important is it for folks to still have, verbal communication versus just sending a text or an email?
I think it's very important. if you don't have the video chatting capabilities, is picking up that phone and checking in on your loved ones. How you doing? You know, do you have everything you need? You know, like I check on my parents, like mom and dad, you got everything you need? And they're like, yeah, we're fine. Um, you know, and if you're out at the store, because that's, you know, one of the things you can go out, you know, you need essentials is, you know, maybe pick up something and drop it off, you know, at a family member's house if that's possible. Some people don't do it well with text messaging. So,
Right.
you know, I was actually talking about that today. It's like they're not a texter. So it's
Hmm.
being intentional about having that communication with people in your life.
I totally agree. From a work perspective, and we talked about this earlier this week on the online workshop that we did. One of the things I encourage, especially leaders in the organization, is don't get too comfortable just sending emails to everyone. Don't you forget to pick up the phone. Don't forget to have a Zoom call, you know, with your team. I have to give a huge shout out to Innovate Her KC. We did a virtual happy hour last Friday. It was a enormous amount of fun, because you still got to feel like you were socializing with the ladies. We broke out into separate groups online via Zoom. Lauren Conway, shout out to you. She spearheads that team, because there's nothing worse than feeling like I am stuck in this house for how long? And yet there's only so many trips I can make to Big Lots in the grocery store in Target. There's only so many things I can keep going out to buy. But making sure that we still get to have that interaction, you guys. We just may have to do it differently. So from a business and work perspective, let me encourage leaders, have a video call with your team. You know, don't get caught up in just zipping out an email. Don't forget to do that, because they still need to see your face. And there's nothing like hearing your expression, but there's so much value when your team can see your face, because that way they can see your facial expressions, you know, see what you're doing. And can I tell you, honestly, I think it makes it even more personable, especially when the kids or the cat or the dog or something's running around in the background. It is hilarious, and it is so much fun. We did a workshop and training for a company last Friday as well, and it was so great. Everybody was in their own house. You know, you could see the kitchen in the back room, or the bookshelf, you know, or her chair, and it's like, oh, that's really a cool chair. But I think we have the opportunity to make things even more personal when we do get to do that live chat. Now, keep your background as clean as possible, because that, you know, people can see that. But I love the fact that we can do that. Stephanie, I want to move just a little bit over into, you know, managing the stress. I'm giggling because I had a Facebook message with a girlfriend of mine this morning. It's like, you know, she's like, I think my husband's gonna get me. He's like, you snapping. But now, guess what? We are in the house sometimes all day with our spouses. Now, my husband works at a hospital, so guess what? He's still at work. But what about that couple that, oh my gosh, I am now looking at my spouse every day, all day. Give
Mhm.
us some tips. I don't know if we could make them call relationship tips, but you know, how do you shift? Oh my gosh, you know, because now I'm, you know, whether it's your husband or your wife, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, how do you handle staring? Or if you just have a roommate, how do you handle that? And give us some tips on relationships. And then we're going to move to the kids, but give us some tips on, you know, how do you keep me
Okay.
from snapping?
From snapping. Well, I would say the first thing is be very aware of your emotions, because there's this thing called cabin fever and you can't get on each other's nerves. So have some self-awareness, you know. And this might be a good time for you to probably talk about some things that maybe you have been putting on the back burner
Mm-hmm.
because you just don't have the time. You know, sit down and write a list of things that you want to discuss. When I work with couples, and they're in conflict, I have them write some things out. And you want to make sure that you do it where, everybody, when you're in a good mood, you don't want, if you're snapping at each other, that's not the time to discuss those things. But maybe pick one topic and say, hey, we need to talk about, housework. I'm picking something pretty less stress.
Right.
So, it's kind of like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can come up with a plan to get the housework done. Maybe this is a time to do some deep cleaning. I just recently moved, so going through some things, and maybe you come across some more pictures of each other, and just kind of reflect about, hey, we've been together for 20 years, and look, I pull
Hmm.
up pictures, and let's kind of reminisce and talk about those things that made you want to, stay together, that made you want to fall in love, that made you want to get married. Um, it could be, here's a perfect opportunity. Maybe you need to do some crunches together. So you're going to be each other's, accountability partner. Let's get up and we do 20 crunches together. I help you, you help me. It's just finding
Right.
those fun ways to reconnect. And then, of course, now, if you are getting on each other's nerves, hopefully you have separate rooms in the house that you can go to.
You
you
know that
know,
I love it. You talked about crunches and exercises, and I have to give a shout out. Don Ratan just hopped on. Don, if you've got an exercise tip for anybody, you feel free to text it to us. But I think that that's awesome because when jokingly, we've heard people talk about, we wonder how many couples are going to stay married after all of this. Um, and we do say that jokingly. I really hope, because it's something when you get to end your day and come home and chat with each other. But even the thought of us even thinking about working with a spouse all day and then coming home to them all day, most of us would be like, there's no way I could do that. And for some couples, that's their norm and they do that. And some relationships and some roommates, can work together all day and come home all day. So if you guys got some tips on that, you guys come right on in and tell us all about it. But you want to make sure that you can handle your level of stress. And I have to give a shout out. Stephanie and I actually had planned for this Sunday to actually do a self-care Sunday. Um, but since we can't all hang out together face to face, we thought we would do something, a little bit different and give everyone, an opportunity to get a few tips on, how do I handle all this stress, from the business to work to family. Okay, so now we got to take it to the next phase. We have parents that are in the house all day with our children.
yes.
And at first I thought, oh, I feel for those with little kids, but my goodness, those with teenagers, it's just as challenging. So we've all of a sudden had to become the daycare, as
Hmm.
well as the daycare and try and work from home.
And the
Or
teacher.
yes, I'm the daycare, I'm trying to work from home and I have to teach. And then even here in the KCK school district, this week, is go pick up laptops for the kids for middle school. My high school one already has one. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have homework because that's how I feel. So what do you have for us as parents? And you're a grandmother as well. um, give me some, I don't know, some breathing techniques, okay, how do you deal with this no matter what age these kids are? It
Uh-huh.
is a shift. What do you have for us?
Well, I would say maybe a breathing exercise at the
For
beginning of the
everyone.
morning. And so the best thing is some deep belly breathing. So how I explain that to my clients is put your hands on your belly
Uh-huh.
and you are going to breathe in through your mouth. Excuse me. You're going to close your mouth, close your lips, breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. You want to hold it for 6 seconds, and then you want to breathe out for a count of 8. And when you breathe out of your mouth, you want to be able to hear your breath. Or a tip that my supervisor gave me is when you blow out through your mouth, put your finger, wave it in front of your lips so that you can hear it. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I'm
So
actually trying to do it and mute at the same time. I was like, you because
it's a brick.
this I'm not kidding. You guys, this is so real. This
Mm-hmm.
is so real. And for those of you whose kids were on spring break when all this broke out, so we've been, you know, fiddling with kids for this is going on week 3. So
Right.
as soon as the outbreak hit, I know for KCK and I think like Blue Valley, so some of the other ones, we went right from, oh, the kids are out of school, like that Thursday was their last day, the 12th, and then they were spring break. And then, ooh, we're not going back to school. And then I've got a senior. So now it's do you mean we're not going to have, I don't have a senior prom and I don't have graduation? Mom, what is
Mm-hmm.
going on? So the stress of the kids not being able to have their activities, um,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on their age, I know it's a little different, but if I think of my senior, he doesn't get to go to the band concert. He made it to state for forensics, and all these kids that had all these great next level things going on, nobody's getting to play baseball. This is the season for
Right.
baseball and soccer. What can we say to our kids, so that they're okay with not doing their activities right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty tough one because you got the seniors, those milestones that are happening, as
Yes.
they're transitioning from high school and then, excuse me, moving, to college, or maybe they have a career they want to go into. Is
Hmm.
that again, like I said earlier, is putting it in perspective. It's like this is something that was anticipated and probably nobody even thought about, this evening happening where we're having to be sheltered in. And it could be that they journal about some of their feelings that they have of not being able to go to the band, or prom, or those senior activities that they have. Talk about those things,
Yeah.
talk about them with their friends. Maybe this is a time for them to do virtual types of senior
Hmm.
activities. In a way, if you're looking towards prom, if girls already have it, just dress up, put that on, play music. I mean, you got Zoom, you got FaceTime, you have all these video platforms where you can do that. It's being creative. So it gives
Right.
you an outlet. And I would even say not just for the seniors, adults. I mean, if you drink
Oh, I'm
wine,
telling you, our virtual happy hour was a blast. And
right.
there I got teased because I had my ginger ale and my pizza going. Somebody else had chicken wings. Everybody had their favorite beverage.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you brought up something that I don't think we talk a lot about, especially with our young people, as well as adults, is that benefit of journaling. So even when it comes to that business owner and CEO and the executives, writing down how you're feeling about the business.
Right.
I'm stressed to the hilt, or what, hey, I'm so thankful that we're able to keep our doors open. Whatever that is, journal about that. And journaling is not a girl thing.
It's
It's
not. I
not just
have
for the women.
I work with men too. I have them write stuff down.
Yes.
For some people, journaling is hard, but journaling does not necessarily always have to be about words. It
Ah.
could be a drawing. You know, for some people, their journaling is poetry. Um,
Okay.
it's whatever is going to help you release what's on the inside that you're not always willing to share with others. um, it could be that you just write it down and then you crumple it up and throw it away. That's a way of releasing that. But yeah, there are different ways that you can journal. I don't want to give away too much
Yeah.
when we have our in-person workshop,
Right,
but
right.
it's just
Yes.
thinking of different
Don't
ways.
give away too much because we are still going to have our
Yeah.
self-care Sunday workshop. And I'm spoiler alert, it is being hosted at the location of Lillian James Creative. Shout out to Erin Falk that is letting us use her space, which is beautiful, bright, and fabulous, and has all these windows and bright colors. So you guys just gonna have to hold on for a little bit. But journaling, I think, is phenomenal. I'm going to give away one of my little secrets. And I've shared it with Stephanie before, and she's like, "Good job, Mary." And that is the adult coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what's hilarious. So I have grandchildren, everyone. My youngest grandson is 4, so they are 7, 6, and 4, and they love to journal. And so one day I got to show off my coloring pages. And I have my own special markers that they do not get to touch, but they were just like, oh, they call me Yaya. So they were like, Yaya, that is gorgeous. So it's not just a kid thing anymore. And there are evenings where my mind is racing and, I've got 15 million things going on. What do I do for my business? What do I need to share and coach my clients with? And I do. There are some nights, Stephanie, I'm like, yeah, it's time to sit on my couch, prop up my feet, and I pull out my coloring pages. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about, even maybe doing family coloring time, or coloring virtually, with some friends and then showing your paper. Can we do stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Here's the thing. I think for adults, we have forgot what it's like to play
Yes.
and have fun. Um, and that takes some of the stress off because you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about the finances, you're not, thinking about the future and what's gonna. It's just being able to breathe as I blow out, but just be able to breathe and
Yes.
relax and have some fun. It's okay to be silly. It's okay. Maybe you have a virtual dance
What?
party. I know one time with my older son and my grandkids, we did I think it's called Triller. We didn't do TikTok, but we did a Triller for like one of Michael Jackson songs that I like. And it was just so much fun. We were acting silly. And I mean, we did it like
Yes.
3 or 4 times. We did different versions. He had to sit here, we had to sit there. So it's just taking that time to have fun, even with your kids. You talked about how do you relieve some of that stress, when you're trying to
Yes.
do the virtual teaching. It's like take 30 minutes and just have some fun. Have the kids teach you whatever the latest dance is or a song, or maybe even crazier,
Yes.
you come up with a family song. It's just taking a step back and saying, yes, this is the situation that we're in right now. No, we don't have control over it, but we do have control over things that we can do at home to relieve the stress
Absolutely.
of business and school and families and relationships. It's basically, if you think back to when we were growing up, Mary, we didn't have cell phones.
No, ma'am.
There was no video chat.
No,
You
no.
know,
Mm-mm.
it was
But
like,
and you know what's funny? I was talking to one of my other business colleagues. Oh, and just so you guys see, if you can see it on the page, it is this easy to type in adult coloring pages. Be careful because all kind of things can pop up. But get you something that you can sit down and have a blast with. But I wanted to share that because I am known to have a folder that says Yaya's coloring pages, so that they know this belongs to me. This belongs to me. This is mine. But enjoy that and don't forget to do it. Have fun with it. Have
mm-hmm.
fun with it. So I'm gonna throw that out there for my Innovate Her crew. Laura, maybe we can have a coloring night. And we could color and chat and have another happy hour and do some more challenging work and see who can color the best. But it is really kind of interesting. And when we talk about making sure that we can still socialize, I know I'm going to talk about Innovate Her again, but there was something that Lauren Conway shared with us that I didn't even know we could do. But it's a Netflix party. It's an on where you can watch Netflix in sync, with other people. So you can bring in some family and friends, your neighbors, the rest of the folks who, you can't have in your house right now, and you can watch the same movie together. And I thought that is so cool. So
Right. Yeah, that
socializing,
sounds like a great idea.
it does, doesn't it? So you have
You
to
could
make
give your
sure.
commentary on, what you thought about the movie. You can be movie critic for a
Absolutely.
day.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what you want to do. Let's talk a little bit about, and we'll give us another, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but how important, Stephanie, is it for us to still socialize during this pandemic, kind of, stay in your house, and I know it's different across the country because there's some major issues, in some of the other cities and some of the other states where, here in Kansas City, we see it, we're hearing about it. And it is extremely important. One of my dear friends, his mother, who is a senior, just got diagnosed. We had another prayer request this morning for, someone else's aunt that's been diagnosed. So even if it's not hitting your household, it is hitting some of your neighbors and family and friends throughout the community. So I know we want to be cautious of that, but let's talk about the importance for you to still remain social as much as possible, as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Because then you get into like um the anxiety increasing. And so we're getting into, starting to be disruptive to your life.
Yes.
We're going to have to start seeking out, help with that. It's being social is to one, be intentional about it, because sometimes people, you can tend to isolate yourself and be like, oh, I don't want to be bothered. But
Hmm.
it's that, again, it's that connection that we need. Now we have to do it virtually or over the phone. Um, or, if you have your neighbors, you got a fence between you. Go outside. That's another thing, is go outside. It was a beautiful day
Yes.
yesterday. It's a beautiful day today. The sun is out. Just get outside. Just try to get some vitamin D from the sun and breathe,
Yes.
the fresh air. And, maybe you talking to your neighbor from across the fence, and talk about other things besides the coronavirus.
Oh my
Maybe
goodness.
it's
Yes.
maybe sharing a recipe, because I mean, you know, we do have to watch our figures. So maybe
Oh
not
my
everybody
goodness.
is not ordering out. Maybe you're cooking more. That's another thing. Cook with your kids. Find healthy recipes to cook. Share with your neighbor, or maybe it's maybe share a tip about a craft like sewing or painting. um just get creative. There's
Absolutely.
Google. I mean, look up different things that you can talk about. Maybe go through your wardrobe and have a fashion show. Just
Stop it. That sounds
you
like
know
cleaning and organizing. What do you mean?
right, right, exactly. It's finding creative ways to be social. This has
It
been trying to
is.
kind of purge some things. Maybe you can share with your neighbor, hey, I lost 10 pounds. She was like, well, I gained 10 pounds. I'm just
Right.
being funny. Well, hey, I got some clothes. Hey,
No,
maybe
that is
we can
so
swap or
true.
something like that.
That
uh,
is so true. I heard a rumor the other day, everyone, that they were calling it the Corona 15 because we're stuck in the house and we're nibbling. My daughter calls it bored eating. You're eating
yes.
because you're bored.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may have to pull Dr. Fitch on a call pretty soon and see if he can throw us some help tips, or pull in Dr. Michelle Robin, just throwing some names out there. But I think it is important for us to remember, we can get outside. You can get in your backyard, you can get in your front yard. We have a little park here in my neighborhood. We could walk around. We were the only ones there, for most of the time. And then when we saw someone coming, we came on back to the house. But I think that this is phenomenal. Let me just give kind of a quick overview with everyone, because we want to make sure that we are all doing as best we can in managing our stress. And here's what I tell, I think I've told this to all my clients that I've coached throughout the years. You know, uh, I believe in a therapist. and I believe in a coach, and I believe everybody should have one of each. So I do have my own business coach, and Stephanie, you better believe Stephanie's my therapist, and every now and then she gets a call. It's like, hey, you got a minute? It's like, yeah, what's going on? Well, let me tell you what I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that there has been this thing, especially in the minority community. Do we do that?
Mhm.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Um, there
Mhm.
is a T-shirt out, and Cortez Vaughn had it on one day, and I can't remember what it said. It was like God plus prayer plus therapy, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want that shirt, because we don't want to wait too long. We don't want to get to that level of stress and anxiety that it really does begin to affect our work, that it begins to affect our productivity at whatever level. If it gets to the point, to where I'm at my wits end. And sometimes it's a little tough to recognize that. I've shared it openly before, but I remember talking to Stephanie, after the fact. It's like, you know what? Oh my God, I didn't know I was depressed back then. But where, I'm sleeping all the time. It's like, I'm not that tired, but I caught myself sleeping all the time. So Stephanie, I want to close out with this. What are a couple of you know signs that we need to watch for ourselves, and then what are things that we can watch, with our spouses, with our roommates, our sweetie pies. What are some
Mhm.
things we can kind of keep an eye on, because we are all in this together. And some people get to go into, a workspace, if you're at, Target and Walmart, and Big Lots, and, some of those
Mhm.
places that are still open right now. But if I'm not, what are some of the things I need to be watchful for myself as well as for my partner?
The first thing you want to make sure that the person is not withdrawing. So they're not engaging with you. They're not getting
Okay.
out of bed. What is their sleep like? What's the appetite like? And those are more so going along the lines of depression.
Okay.
Um, it could be that maybe these things were already there, but because of the busyness of life, you didn't
Mm-hmm.
really notice it. You know, not wanting to pull the curtains open, different things like that. You want to watch for their language. How are they talking negative all the time?
Right.
More often than not. Those are just high level, not to get very, technical
Right.
as
Right.
far as what's in the DSM, but paying attention to the behaviors that you haven't seen before.
Okay.
And like now with therapists and we're us being available via telehealth, you know, yes, I am on Psychology Today. I'm on a couple of other therapist directories, but this is the time now to seek out. And here's the thing: it may take you maybe 3, maybe 6 sessions at the most to kind of work through an issue.
Okay.
Depending on what you're seeking out services for.
Mm-hmm.
I have some people that kind of like, I got some life transitions, which is going on right now, and maybe they only need about 4 or 5 sessions to kind of talk through what that is for them and the
Right.
emotions that are attached to that. And then, you're done. And then maybe, you check in every month, 3 months, 6 months. You know, I've read some articles, on different things for therapists is that a lot of, because you mentioned couples, now they have the time to work on their relationship. It's like, oh,
Right.
I got this, I got that. Well, now, as long as you have a private place in your home, you can start to work on that. Um,
Right. I think that is phenomenal. That is a good point, because I was talking to a life coach. What's today? Today's Sunday. This was Saturday, and that came up in the conversation. It's like, you know what? It's amazing how some of us have we have to slow down.
mhm,
And that'll probably be another topic of discussion. Um, as well. But from that therapy standpoint, and bringing in the therapist conversation, Stephanie, I want to say thank you so very very much, for being a part of the call today and sharing some insight, and tips for everyone, because this is real. It
mhm,
is new.
Yes.
I would, and sharing with other people, the Midwest, I mean, and I know we've had tornadoes hit us, but those were one-time events that had lasting impact.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when this is going to end.
Right.
We don't have a stop date to this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not never taking light to those who have had the hit of the tornadoes in the past, but we know that there have been some additional devastations in parts of the country that hit often, like when the hurricanes hit, it's kind of in that same territory. When we have the wildfires in California, you know that's happened so many times, but I think there's such an impact in the Midwest because I don't think we're used to something like this hitting us for this long ever. And we know that nationally, this is huge. And
Right.
we are continuing to care for other people, continuing to check on our family members and our friends and our coworkers. And we are looking forward to the end of this,
Oh, yes.
that I think when we come out of this, that my desire is that we are so appreciative of our businesses, that we are appreciative of each other, our family, our kids, our friends,
Mm-hmm.
the appreciation of being able to give someone a hug,
Mm-hmm. Oh, most
and
definitely.
you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I'm like, and I'm a
Mhm.
hugger. Anybody
Yeah.
who's ever met me, I try not to hug you on the first date, but I'm just like, I'm a hugger. That's me. I'm a hugger. But those of us, a matter of fact, I think we were sending virtual hugs for Innovate Her the other day. It's like,
Oh,
you got
yeah.
a
Yeah.
hug
I was
and
gonna say virtual hugs.
yes,
Another thing that can help release some stress and anxiety is that physical touch. For those in your household, if it's a hug, it's a hand on the shoulder, or
yes.
it's a hand on the knee. That physical touch
Hmm.
sends comfort.
I
Sends
think
comfort.
that is so so important, and and a shout out to our seniors that are home, to
Hmm.
all those that are home alone, that you make sure you are staying well connected. For those of us with spouses and kids in the house, you know what? Your superpower needs to come out. Your superpower needs to come out. So appreciative the Kansas City weather is nice today.
Hmm.
Today is Sunday. What is today? Sunday, March 29th. And, get outside before we get rain later on this week, but take advantage of that. And let's not ever take this for granted again. I'm going to
Hmm.
close this out. Again, Stephanie Womack, she is a licensed professional counselor. You can find her out on Psychology Today and some other websites. Just type in her name, Stephanie Womack, and she will come up. She is licensed in Kansas and Missouri. I think she does more of her clients on the Missouri side, but guess what? It's tele everything now.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
so statewide, if you're in the lowest part, most eastern, western, northern part of Kansas and Missouri, give her a call. Stephanie, I usually don't tell people how long I've known you, but I have known
Oh,
Stephanie for
goodness.
over 30 years. She was a candlelighter um, at my first wedding. And she is such a calm person that it's phenomenal to have a conversation with her. And even though we've known each other so long, she does not take my side. And that bothers me. That bothers me. But she
I'm
doesn't take my
neutral.
side. She
I'm
is neutral.
neutral.
She's so
That's
very
my
neutral. I love it.
training. Now, as a
And
friend, I can give you sides, but as a
yes,
therapist, I'm
no,
neutral.
oh, don't let her fool you. She doesn't take your side, even if you're a friend. But she is phenomenal, and I so appreciate you so very much. And Kansas City metropolitan area ladies, get ready. As soon as we get the release, as soon as we get the break, we are going to have a series of self-care Sundays. We're going to have a series of self-care Sundays. We're going to be able to host them at Lily and James Creative. If you have not checked them out, you've got to go to their website. Um, It is the run by the phenomenal woman, Erin Folk, and she is awesome. She actually has some great things on the website right now. So if you're looking for marketing and social media, all that great stuff. And yes, I know there's others out there, but guess what? Erin is one of my clients, so I get to pump her up. Thank you so much, but get ready to see those. To all of the men and women who are watching this, whenever you watch this, take care of yourself. Don't
Definitely.
forget to check on your family and friends. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you checking us out. We appreciate you connecting with everyone. I love business coaching. I love leadership coaching. I love corporate training. We're doing corporate training a little bit differently right now. So go to our website and check us out at tptrainingcenter.com. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and we will talk to you soon. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.